Let's take a look at protection in Excel workbooks. Now, you may well build workbooks or models for other people, and whilst you can trust yourself, you may not be able to trust other people either to make malicious changes to a workbook or accidental ones, and it might even be worth protecting your workbook sometimes to stop yourself making accidental changes to a workbook. So first of all, we'll see on the this is Excel 2007 and beyond. If we look at the ribbon for review, the review tab, we've got two buttons here: protect sheet and protect workbook. Now those allow us to if we click on protect sheet, first of all, there's two levels of protection here. If we protect sheet, then we can select which attributes a user is allowed to change within the sheet. Now you'll notice here that the first two are ticked by default, and we've got select locked cells and select unlocked cells there. So first of all, we can allow or disallow people to actually select cells. Now it's a bit draconian to not even allow people to select them, but it is possible to switch that off. Now the most common thing is that we're going to want to allow people to change what's in a cell, and typically what we want to allow them to do is to change an input. So let's have some inputs, and we might have calculations here. So if we've got some input cells, that's what we would want to allow users to change. Let's first of all just give those a bit of colour so we can see where they are, and you can use styles actually, which is covered in another video. We've got styles up here, but have a look at the styles video for more about that, rather than applying individual formats to cells as you go along. So let's just put some input values in there, calculation in here, and just for an example we will add each cell to the sum of the previous ones. Let's just copy that across. Now typically we'll want users to be able to change the input cells but not to change the calculations. Now by default, if we look at the format on these cells, and we can do that very easily by holding down the control key and pressing 1, that brings up the format cells dialog box, and if we click the protection tab in there, we'll see that these are locked. Now we want the calculations to be locked, but we don't want the to be locked. So control 1 again, let's uncheck that box and say OK. Now, so we've now got cells for inputs which are not locked and cells for calculations which are locked, but that will have no effect whatsoever. So I can type anything I like in here, and it allows me to do so. So at the moment protection is not effective. So although we've locked these cells, or rather these are locked by default, but the input cells are not, it only takes effect when we go to the review tab and protect the sheet. So let's click on protect sheet, and we can use a password here. I'm not going to do that just at the moment. So let's just click OK. Now if I go back to one of these calculation cells again and try and type something, then we get an error message saying that this is protected and therefore read only. So that prevents a user from changing that cell. So that's the sheet level, and you'll see that that the button that was previously protect sheet has now changed to unprotect sheet, and we can click that again to put us back to the default position. There is another button here which is protect workbook. That allows us to prevent changes to the structure of the workbook, so we can prevent people adding, deleting, or making sheets visible or invisible, and also we can prevent them from changing. If we click on the protect workbook button, we'll see there's also the option to prevent windows from being changed. So you can stop users from changing the size of the window, or if you have more than one window on the same workbook, which is possible, then it will prevent them from changing that arrangement as you saved it. So protection is very useful. A lot of people, particularly if you're sending a workbook out to a lot of people, expecting to get that back in the same state that you sent it out, so that you may want to then combine sheets, let's say, into another workbook. You probably want those to stay the same as they were when you sent them out, and so protection can be very useful for that, to prevent people from adding rows, inserting rows or inserting columns, for example, or for changing values. And if we just go back to look at the Protect Sheet dialog box, we can see here that the things that can be protected are whether or not we allow users to insert. So if this box is ticked, it allows a user to do that, so we can allow them to insert columns, insert rows, and so on. Generally speaking, you don't want them to allow them to do most of those things if you want your workbook to remain in the state it was when you first created it. Okay, I hope that's useful to you. As I say, more about formatting and how to use that in the styles in another video, and you can actually create styles that include or exclude locking on the cells that you're applying those styles to. So take a look at that video as well. Thanks for watching, and do take a look at some of our other videos.